Hi, this is Mike Farcourt and welcome to another video on what I used in the studio. This time it was an acoustic album that we are doing with Theigns Thralls, and let me get to the point. So, to quickly tell you what I used, it was 20-inch fast medium crash from the Paiste signature series, the normal series, and then from the Reflector series I used the 14-inch heavy hi-hats, 16-inch heavy full crash and the 18-inch heavy full crash. I will go into the details especially about those later on in the video, but after the demonstration. For the kit, it was the British drum company Raven series, and for that one I used a 22 by 16-inch kick drum, 10 by 7 rack tom, and the 14 by 13 floor toms. Also for the snare drum, I used the Briggs Stave snare drum. It's a home built one by our guitar player. It's a 14 by 5.5, and it's a combination of walnut, cherry, and maple. On the kick drum, I used the EQ for kick, EC2 on the toms, and Ramo Ambassador X snare drum head. So, if you want to know more, after the demonstration you can hear me talk about other things. For now, enjoy the demonstration. So, I hope you really liked that demonstration, and please let me know in the comment section what you thought of what I was playing, because it was complete improvised. So, let's talk about gear. And let's start about the cymbals first. So, what we wanted to do was not too difficult with everything that we used. So instead of what I normally use, which is like one 14-inch hi-hat, and I basically use 4 crashes and China, we went really small. So what I started using was basically half, let's say it like that. It was the 14-inch Reflector Heavy hi-hats. If you check the video, you can already hear how they are very easy to get several sounds out of. In general, the Paiste signature series are remarkable on how versatile they are, but they can also be used very specific. And especially with recording the Reflector series, they have a great sustain, but also they can be very shortened or used as a very short accent. And there's a really nice floor there, which I will talk about, especially surrounding the crashes. But the really good thing about the heavy hi-hats is that they have a nice chick to it, they also have a nice tick on the surface, and they are just great when it comes to everything that is surrounding that. Then the crashes, the 16 and the 18-inch Reflector Heavy full crashes. Now the 16, that's a really short cymbal, so it's really easy to use it as a quick accent, or if you want something really staccato in the rhythm as a crash, you can do it on that one. Like it's already a very nice and short, but also bright cymbal. So I really like to use that as an effect. For this 18-inch heavy full crash, that's the one that is basically still cutting, but it also has a very nice wash, but the sustain is not that much. And especially what I like about both of them is that you don't have the nasty high tones that a lot of cymbals have in this category. But the Paiste signatures and especially the Reflector crashes, they have the cutting that all of the brands do, but they don't have the nasty high tone, and that's something very, very valuable to me, at least. Then you already noticed that I don't use a ride, and that has a specific reason. Like, even with the normal recordings, I prefer to have a crash instead of a ride. But especially with this particular project of Theigns Thralls, it was very important that we don't have a very bingy ride. Like, it needs to be more washed than actual bing. So that's where the 20-inch fast medium crash came in, because it's a very simple crash. It's more on the traditional side, and because I started using it in these recordings, we actually have a lot of control on what the ride sounds are doing, because basically every offbeat note that you play is just a control on how the wash is going. So basically only the quarter notes are accented. I don't use the cut that much, but if I would have used the cup, it would have been really nice, because it's still a cutting cup, but you don't need it that much. As a crash, of course, it's a great crash. It's on the low side of the crashes, so you don't have that much of a cut, which is especially nice when you're ending a piece that goes into a softer piece. So the combination of all of those cymbals together is really something that I would use on a more stable basis. It's just something that is not going to be enough for when I play the rest of the music like I used to do them in the studio beforehand. So I needed to basically make sure that I do it like I need to do it. That's it for the cymbals. The only thing that I can say left is basically I chose these cymbals from the collection that we have at the studio. I could have flown in my own cymbals, but the cymbals that I use live are the Paiste 900 series, and they're just not the thing for recording. I do own a set of, for example, Reflector's Soundwave hi-hats. They're really cool, I love them. For this purpose, I wouldn't have wanted to have too much of the power going into the hi-hats, for example. And I do own the same crashes, so for me it feels like I'm playing my own cymbal, except for the 20-inch fast medium. In that case, I would have brought a Paiste Istanbul that I have laying around in the house, because that gets close to what I'm using now. But actually I would prefer to have 20-inch fast medium crash as well, because that's basically the better version and the newer version as well of the Istanbul when it comes to playing these kind of parts. And it's lovely, but I don't need to have that specific cymbal, and definitely not for a acoustic album. So next up is the drum kit. The British drum company Raven series. I really love them, and I've been using them for a year now, and I will combine it together with why I use the drum heads that I'm using on this kit. So the British drum company Raven series, they are remarkable. Like they always sound good. And if you want to look up more details about them, surely do so. I would definitely recommend this kit for studio purposes, but also for nice and small gigs, because they're actually versatile enough to do really loud things, but you can also play them nice and softly if you want to. So what I used was a 22 by 16 inch kick drum, the 10 by 7 rack tom, and the 14 by 13 floor tom. And normally you would, if you would know my regular setups, I prefer to have a 12 inch and a 16 inch in toms, and I would add a 14 inch on the other side. But for this record we just wanted to go smaller. Like, we know that I can play a bigger kit, but if you're just doing acoustics, you want to keep it small. You don't want to get to very difficult big fills and whatever. Like, I can play them on 2 toms if I want to, but it's not for the purpose of the music that I'm playing at this moment. So I just went for more subtle sizes, like the 10 inch and the 14. With the 14 I can still get a good floor tom sound, but it's not a necessary sound. With the 10 inch rack tom I can both play it softly, so I get a little bit less attack, but still get some nice tones. But I can also hit it a little bit harder, get a nice attack short sound, but also with a nice high end on it. So the combination of them is more versatile than having only the low ends of the 12 and 16. So that's how I chose that. Then for the drum heads we chose to go a little bit different from normally, but still stay the same. For example, we have normally I have Evans EMAT drum heads on the kicks, and this time we actually went for the EQ4 kick. It's a little bit softer, it's still a nice and clear drum head, but it's less attack still than the EMAT, and it's got a little more low end to it, so it's easier to use for the acoustic setup. We did put a Denmark kick pad because we still wanted to have enough attack, but where I would normally use the wooden beaters, I this time went for the felt beaters, which worked out really great. And then for the toms, there's also a big decision, or at least there was a big decision, to remain the same, because normally if you talk about acoustic sets and you talk about everything, getting everything nicely and warm, all that kind of stuff, you choose different drum heads like the calf tones or something like a G2, or going for ambassadors in general. We purposely decided not to do that because we wanted to keep the sounds a little bit dull, like you would use them in a pub. So we didn't want too much tone out of them. And that actually worked out great with the EC2s because they can be tuned really short, and with just 1 or 2 moon gels you're in complete control, and it's a nice thud instead of a lot of tone. So for example, where I would love to have a calf tone or a G2 in the studio, that's amazing stuff for the studio when you're doing big ass recording and you want to have particular sounds. But we didn't want to have those sounds, we actually wanted to keep it more compromised. And that actually worked perfectly. It was nice and short, and everything just worked out incredibly also when I listened back to things we were recording in the studio. Then on the snare drum, and I haven't talked about the snare drum yet, and I will after telling what head it was. It was a Remo Ambassador X snare. And there's also a choice because we actually changed the head from a Remo Power Stroke with a reverse dot back to the Ambassador X, especially because with the Power Stroke you need to really hit the thing to get a really nice sound out of it, and we wanted something softer, low end, controllable, and it was the Ambassador X. Like, we tried a few snare drums and compared the drum heads that we had on it, and it's a discussion to really go after. So for example, I checked the maple snare drum that we have in the studio. I checked the composite snare drum that we have, and I tried a completely different shell, like a metal shell. But then there was also a combination stave snare drum. It's by Briggs, and David Briggs, our guitar player, he also builds snare drums. One of his is actually going on tour with Illstorm from time to time, and it's incredible what he does. So he made one out of walnut, cherry and maple, and those three combined really got the job done. Like, it's 14 by 5.5 inches, and it's just an amazing snare drum, as you can hear on the demonstration as well. And I would always love to use his snare drums. Actually, like, when I go on tour with them, I do this, and I usually get the composite snare drum, like the one basically made out of composite stone-ish, and that's just amazing. And it's both loud but also very controlled and short, so I really love using that one. For the recordings of an acoustics, it would have been way too much basically to deal with, especially when you're focusing, using something that you're not doing too much. So for this, the walnut cherry maple worked perfectly fine. So the only thing left for me to talk about is the pedals and sticks. So the pedals that I've been using are the Speed Cobras that I normally use on the UK tour, but as I said before, I didn't use the wooden beaters because they were gonna be way too much, and I would love to avoid that. Instead, I actually went to the felt beaters, which are way more versatile, and I actually own the older style angle beaters with which you can determine how much of the felt you want to hit the surface, and basically I just had them flat, so it was more of a woolly sound, less attack. It's just a really nice set of beaters to have as a backup as well, when I'm playing gigs and there's no kick pads or any protection on the drum heads at all. Then the sticks that I've been using, they are the Collision 5A Reach that I have. We tried the hot rods that I have from Collision. I have the brushes, and they all sounded fine. Like, they are great products and I would always recommend them. The only thing is, for this acoustic set, we just wanted to keep me playing with the normal sticks just because it sounded the best on the recordings. We did try it, and there was nothing wrong with it. It was just a sound signature that we liked better with the normal sticks compared to the other types of sticks that I tried for this particular EP. So basically, there you have it. It's everything that I used in the studio when it comes to just the kit and the cymbals. Do I have to say more about microphones? Not really, because basically it's the same as we normally do. If anybody would be interested in having a list of what we used microphone-wise, feel free to reach out and I'll give you a list of what we actually used. But in general, no worries about microphones and stuff. So I hope you enjoyed this little bit of video about what I used in the studio this time. I hope you really liked the demonstration, and soon the EP or mini album will be released. And let me know what you think about that one as well. And I hope to see you with the next videos. There's going to be some releases soon about how to play drums. There's going to be some series on extra covers that I'm doing, and of course there's also going to be some live footage again. So see you next time.